So next up is going to be our lightning talks. While we get the slides sorted for that, could we have Joel, Kyle, Mike, and Eleni, if you guys are here, just sort of migrate to the front of the room so you're ready to go when it's your turn to talk. Thank you. So I don't really have bios or anything for you folks, so I'm just going to hand off the mic to Joel.
All right. I'm Joel, anti-voodoo analyst. That was a title somebody else suggested for me once upon a time, and that's a story that I don't have to talk about. I tell people often that fishing is my science fair project, and yeah, today I want to call it my magic trick. I'm going to do the, let's see, the laptop? Okay, I'm going to do the preacher's trick of going to the end first. What? Oh. All right, King Tut. I'm going to tell you, I have a master's in divinity too, so I'll do the preacher's kind of thing about telling you what the point of this is before I even tell it to you. The point, think about King Tut, T-U-T. If you get fishing, tell us about it. We can't do anything. I work in actually University Information Security, and we do try to fight phishing. So tell us if you get a phishing email. Send it to us, phishing@umn.edu. When you're choosing passwords, use unique passwords for every important account. Don't use the same password everywhere. And finally, two-factor. Any place you can use two-factor, use it. It's your defense. We're going to be having it available. I don't think it's rolled out. I know there are tests. Chris says that it is not in place everywhere yet, but eventually you'll be able to use two-factor on anything that Shibboleth is covering at the university. I really recommend it. Finally, the frosting on that is have a systematic way of keeping track of your passwords. I use Password Safe. There's a lot of different tools. I don't care what tool. You can use a little notebook that you carry with you. But if you have a systematic way of remembering your passwords, it makes it a lot easier to have unique ones everywhere. It also makes it easier for you to change passwords when you have an event for some reason. And finally, as Brad Paisley says, the internet is forever. Don't reuse passwords. Now, I'll go back to my other slides. Scams, like phishing, are kind of a magic trick. They tell some sort of a lie. And the fish is that this email is really important. It's from President Kaler. It's from the university IT department. Or it's from your friend who is sharing a document with you. The magic trick is telling you this lie and then keeping track of what you reply, and then they will use that password. Now, we decided to play our own trick. This is where we did our own magic trick. So since 2013, every time we have a fish where it has a form that's active, or sometimes it's an email address that's active, we respond. So we use unique fake IDs that look like university IDs. We call them honey peeps. We use that, we have them unique so we know which campaign it was attached to. We send those out and we log attempts to use those IDs coming back to us. That way we have IPs that they're coming from, and we monitor those IPs to see if real accounts are logging in from those addresses. And of course, we also work to shut down the campaigns as we are able to. So what did we learn? Well, we've learned that phishers really, really want to use your account. Our batting average is over 500. That is, more than half of the honey peeps that we have sent out have come back to us. And we've seen them, they never give up. We've seen peeps tried over and over again, over 2-3 years. The peeps keep coming back. It tells us that there's an economy out there. There's a marketplace where these passwords are going back and forth. We also monitor password dump sites to look for people's university, email at umn.edu attached to a password. We see those coming over and over again. And this is the long tail that we hear about. 70% of the attempts to use a honey peep come within the first 10 days. But they go on forever. So, last slide. Again, tell us when you get a phish. We can do something about it if we know about it. Use unique passwords. If one account or one place is, has their password files breached, if your name, if your user ID is almost always an email address these days. So if that email address is attached to different accounts and is using the same password, well, it's like having a screen door on a submarine. You're going to sink. Again, use the two-factor, have a systematic way of keeping track, and don't reuse the passwords. They keep coming back. And one last slide. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Kyle Wicks with the Microsoft Platform Tools team in OIT infrastructure under Marissa. And today is here to talk to you very quickly about two separate things because I'm filling in for Doug Finley too, who has another message. But the biggest point is I was here to talk about public cloud. And there's been a shift in IT culture out there in the industry and in higher ed for the past number of years that if you haven't paid attention to it, it's public cloud first, hybrid cloud on-prem first. And that's coming from all of your software developers, your hardware developers, everywhere you're looking. So the concept here is a very simple comic of we have a lot of old stuff. We're an old university. We've got lots of legacy stuff, and that was kind of funny that it was more of a, cloud architects doing their voodoo and magic and all the project managers dying trying to get that legacy software updated because that was never designed to run in a software as a service solution. To give you an idea of how important this is in the industry, the first quarter of this year alone, the top 3 public cloud vendors were Microsoft Azure, IBM, which kind of shocked me, and then Amazon Web Services. Microsoft had over a $20 billion run rate. That's what people paid Microsoft, which is another shocking thing. But it's $50 billion in the first quarter. So you're looking $250 billion a year that people and industries and universities are spending on public cloud alone. So keep that in mind, because there's a lot of developers in here and there's a lot of software people and hardware people. Like, you should be looking into how you should be moving your systems forward so that you get cute little birds. The second piece of that is for Doug Finley, because we have been working with the network teams, we've been working with UIS, we have been working with the Splunketeers to get logging in AWS and Azure. We're starting to get to the point where we kind of have a grasp on how we can provide this as a service and a solution in hosting, and Doug might even be able to pay for it someday. So for those out there that have been really waiting because you guys were ahead of the game 5 years ago and even 10 years ago, when you're like, okay, I really need to start getting this and I need to get this broken down into microservices and serverless computing and all those really fun buzzwords, come talk to us. Let us know how you would like to use it. come talk to us, tell us what your needs are so that we can start looking at ways of actually providing this and getting it back to you and actually build a better place. And that's it. So come talk to me. Thank you.
Hi, folks. I'm Elaine Fellows from Lattice, and this will take about 30 seconds. So we are, oops, or more. There we go. So FileMaker, yeah. I like FileMaker, those of you that know me from a long time ago. So Lattice in CLA is sponsoring a new space for the University of Minnesota FileMaker users and administrators and folks that support those people to come together and share best practices and engage in a community. So today I'm inviting people to visit any one of those places. The ZURL will take you to a little sign-up form to join the group. And please come join me and other FileMaker users on campus. That's it, really. Thank you. Thank you.
So while we talk about Team Drive, how many of you guys are already using Google Team Drive? Raise your hands. All right. How many love it? 2 hands. Okay. How many have not heard of it yet? Okay. Hopefully most of you guys are going to hear about it. Our goal is to really deliver Team Drive to the IT departments and college units before we just turn it wildly on for the rest of the university to use it. So when people have questions or they don't understand it, hopefully we will already have a lot of inside knowledge about how to handle Team Drive. The biggest thing here, I guess, basically is some of the pain points that we are currently dealing with that Team Drive could probably help with, is if you're still using Active Directory files, for example, you know, it's really difficult to use that from your house. It's very difficult to share Office documents in AD because obviously there's a lock on it. But in Google Space as well, if you're using Google Drive and your My Drive and someone decides to leave the university, then oftentimes you have to call an admin, take ownership of that, and have to start scrolling through. And if people have multiple jobs throughout their term at the university, there might be all these files that go to this department. All these files go here. We had our enterprise architect left, and of course he was TRB, he was, you know, senior director, and it was just really a mess trying to determine where all those files go. So the power of Team Drive really is to avoid all those things. I don't know, what's the next slide here? It's just basically a shared space where all of a sudden it's owned by the team. So once we create a Team Drive for you guys and someone were to leave, the files just stay right there. It doesn't matter who created the document, it's owned by the team and not by the person who created it. And so that's just the power of the Team Drive. Let's see, what's the next slide here? I also, by the way, when we go out to these ITs, well, this is a larger slide deck, but anyway, again, the big difference is that I just explained, is that the Team Drive is really for everybody and not for the My Drive. So, but you can still share it, you can still share files outside of that. They don't have to belong to the team to use Team Drive. And finally, I think I have one more slide between us and lunch. There's a look of that. Slide next. And it's simple. And I think the biggest thing that we've been dealing with is when we talk about Team Drive, people think it's like an Active Directory file structure. It is not. It is strictly a very simple, right there at the root, the permissions are right there at the Team Drive, and it's not like you have to go create teams and then sub-teams and then teams underneath that. It will not work like that. What I would love for you guys to do is if you want access to Team Drive and you haven't heard about it yet, email me. I'm on vacation as of today, so I won't be back for a while, but I'll promise to get back to you after I get back with a nice suntan from Florida, and I'll give you guys access to Team Drive. So contact me if you have any more questions, and if you haven't heard from us yet, we are still trying to get 90% of the IT organizations learning and using Team Drive before we just go flip the switch. And so that's one thing we're really trying to do. So reach out to me if you haven't heard from me as well, or you want to play with it. Thank you.
And yeah, Mike was not quite correct. He was not the last thing standing between you and lunch. That would actually be me or perhaps Ian. The two of us with the slides, and yes. So first, again, thank you for coming. We have a request, one more further thing. If you could help us out by going to the C-Link and filling out the feedback survey. If you're not super starving for lunch, perhaps you could do that before you leave to get the pizza, but either way, it would be really helpful to us if you would do that. And we will also be emailing it out, so you don't need to frantically copy it down at this moment. And yes, I think the date is still TBD, but this is an event that takes place twice a year, and the next one will be in the spring. We will be, again, emailing out what the date is for that when we know what it is. Any other slides? All right, thank you very much. Enjoy the pizza.